We've worked our whole lives, saved and invested just to achieve financial freedom, and been led to believe that instead of painting the perfect financial picture, everyone's plan is the same. But the truth is, no one is like you, and you deserve a financial strategy just as unique as you are. How do you navigate the complexities and volatility of a financial environment that just never sits still? And how do you find the guidance you need? Who do you trust with the wisdom to paint your financial masterpiece? You've arrived. This is the Wealth Council. Welcome to the Wealth Council as we address some of the pitfalls that are facing retirees today and trying to address some of the problems as we move forward. I'm Brad Johansson, and joining me, some of the independent advisors from around the country to answer and address some of those issues that you've been looking at for quite some time. Stuart Willis joining us from Arizona, Nevada, and Colorado. Chance Robinson out of Orlando, Florida, and Tom Mosley coming out of California. Gentlemen, welcome. I want to start right off with potentially the greatest problem that are facing retirees right now. And this one dates back quite some time as we look at the Revenue Act of 1978, which changed the landscape for retirement in America. We probably didn't know it in 1978, but it was a ticking time bomb. Why is it potentially, Stuart, the greatest threat right now?
Well, obviously, in 1978 was the advent of the 401k and the pushing towards deferred taxes, right? I mean, there was a concept that, hey, if we create this automatic forced thing, it just made it easier for employees to be able to contribute to this. And I get the concept. The flaw in this, in the whole topic, is that what they're doing is they're deferring taxes. And theoretically, you're thinking, hey, when I'm done working, my income's going to be lower in the future, right? So I'll pull out that money when taxes are lower. The problem with that is that we don't know if taxes are going to be higher or lower in the future from now. Look, we're in a very efficient time, like you said at the opening, but here's the idea, okay? Nobody ever thought through the fact that if they deferred taxes, that they could now make their Social Security taxable. And for clients that I see, we see between $700,000 and $2 million of Social Security benefit over their lifetime. So why aren't we worrying about taxing that as well?
Chance, why do I want to pay taxes now? That's what everybody's going to say. Why would I pay taxes now?
Absolutely, and I get it. I mean, the pain point is there, but understanding that regardless of how we feel about it, we're all playing this game of money. We're all in the same game. We all understand that the difference between, the millionaires and the billionaires are we have different access to knowledge. We have different access to tools and different strategies and planning. That's why the things are done the way the things are done. When I can sit down and be proactive about what I'm doing about my taxes versus being reactive and wait until the new year starts, I can sit down and really develop a plan that says, hey, if we're looking at, this tax window that's going to expire here within the next couple of years, I want to be in the position that says, okay, well, I'll take this, 22% bracket and be able to get out at that point versus waiting until it's 30, 40, 50. I mean, we don't know what it's going to go to, but idealistically, we have a good ideal.
Well, and who in their right mind thinks that taxes are going to be lower in the future? I mean, historically low right now. Historically high debt, that whether we pay the debt off or not, we've got to pay the interest on it. And historically, lawmakers who tend to want to spend and think about it later because that's how they mostly get reelected, not to get political. But who thinks taxes would be lower in the future? They're historically low right now.
I think you're right. Look, I think you have to put into context the historical nature of how taxes got low to where they are today. Okay, just remember the Tax Cut and Jobs Act was done during one of the greatest economies the world's ever seen, right? 2017. The world was a different place than it is today. That was before COVID, all of the trillions of dollars we had to spend then. That debt has to be repaid. Right? Someone's got to repay that. So when people come to me and they say, hey, well, how do we know that they're just not going to extend the tax cuts? Come on. How are they going to get that done? We're in such a polarized position politically right now. It's hard to get anything done. One president is wiping out the history of the previous president, and we believe that that's going to just continue. So listen, we've got, including 2023, we have 3 years left, right? So at the end of 2025, the Tax Cut and Jobs Act is going to sunset, in my opinion. So you need to take advantage of the most efficient tax window in history, and there's a lot of ways to get that done.
So the real question then is, what's the solution? I mean, what do we do about it? We've got several different solutions that are out there. We're talking, Roth conversions. We're talking backdoor Roth conversions looking ahead. We're talking utilizing tax code 7702, even utilizing municipal bonds, all of these different things. There's different options and strategies about how to do them, but how do I know which one is best for me, which one works, and make sure I don't get myself into any trouble and wind up being penalized or taxed more than I normally would have? What's the solution? Is to sit down with somebody and develop a plan. Come up with a plan and be proactive about that plan.
You're telling me there isn't a cookie cutter way to figure this whole thing out.
Right, and it's not a penitentiary way either. It's not break the law, do something illegal. It's taking advantages of the laws that we have right now to position ourselves so that we're best prepared. And some people are out there and they're like people that walk into our office every single day and they say, well, why hasn't anybody told me about this? My financial advisor hasn't told me about it. My CPA hasn't told me about it. So many people are holding themselves out as tax experts, but they're tax preparers rather than tax planners. And they're looking in the rearview mirror at what happened so that they can put it down on a 1040 and they can turn you in every year and tell you how much tax you've got to pay for last year. We want to look at down the windshield of life and say, over a 20-year retirement in that $700 to $2 million IRA or 401k, how much tax is that going to cost me? And when I run that across the people that come in to see us, very, very few people know that answer.
And I think Chance is right. The moral of this story is to have a plan. The reason the wealthy people stay wealthy generationally is because they plan. Despite what taxes come in the future, people plan around it. Right now, the wealthy are looking at the environment we're in right now, and they are taking advantage before the tax cuts go away. Right. In 2026, we're reverting back to the old tax code, to the old tax brackets. And if people don't take advantage of that now, I think that's a massive problem. One of the ways they do it is with the Roth conversion, like Chance said. What you do is you push the limits of your brackets. Look, going from 10% to 12% is a small jump. 12 to 22 is a huge jump. 22 to 24 is a small jump. And then 24 to 32 is a big jump. And then they're incremental from there. Be smart. Think it through. And if you don't understand your brackets, see a financial advisor that understands taxes as well, that can do these Roth conversions in a very smart way and make sure they cash flow it out over your lifetime.
If you snooze, you lose right now. You lose big time, because even the 22 to the 24% tax bracket, that 22% tax bracket's going back to 25, more than the 24. So a lot of our people are looking at it if they have significant assets and they're saying, I need to act now.
Yes, you do. Tom, Chance, Stuart, thank you. Some things to think about, folks. As we speak, we are in one of the most advantageous tax windows in history, but as they said, time is running out. So don't play a game with your assets when you don't know the rules. We have a report for you that shows the rules, how to act in your best interest before the rules change. So call the number below, scan the QR code on your screen, receive a Wealth Council tax map and RMD report, and take advantage before the rules change.
Up next, inflation. Is it really transitory or is it here to stay? And how it will affect your purchasing power in the future. Stay tuned.
Think of how much you have saved in your 401k or 403b or TSP retirement accounts, okay? You have that number? Great. Now subtract 20 to 30% from that number for taxes. That's how much you actually have saved. Call 844-463-3466 right now for your free retirement tax guide. Call now, 844-463-3466, or scan the QR code below from your smartphone camera.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson with independent advisors from around the country. Brian Corrento out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Chance Robinson out of Orlando, Florida. Gentlemen, I want to talk inflation because I'm trying to figure out whether this is real or imagined dealing with advisors all these time. I know it's real at the grocery store, at the gas pump, certainly with my electric bill. I'm shocked that there aren't a whole lot of advisors right now talking about inflation in plans. Why is that, Brian?
Well, most are talking about performance. How did your portfolio perform? They're talking about diversifying, right? Asset allocation, how to spread it amongst different investments. What they're not talking about, and what we're really talking about when we talk about inflation, is protecting your purchasing power. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about how do you create a income from a lifetime's worth of work, because 85% of the people retiring today are not going to retire with a pension. So the only source of income that they're going to have is Social Security. So how do we protect ourselves from inflation?
Income, or when I'm thinking about that, I'm talking about savings. What do you mean with income?
Well, so think about your retirement savings, right? Most people think that retirement savings is just going to continue to grow. No, at some point, it needs to start to work for you. It needs to start to provide you with a paycheck. Money needs to start coming out of there and start paying you on a monthly basis. See, when people don't have pensions, how are they going to survive in retirement? Because Social Security is not enough for them to be able to do it.
Right.
So how do you create income? You use, in my opinion, an income annuity. Why? Because essentially what you're doing is you're ensuring that your income will be there for the rest of your lives. Think about it like this. We buy car insurance. We buy homeowners insurance.
Okay.
We have health insurance, right? Why? Because if we get in a car accident, we want our car to be protected.
Sure.
Homeowners, right? Something happens to the house, we want it protected. Our health, something happens to our health, we want to be able to take care of our health and have someone pay for it, right? It's an insurance. We can insure our retirement income through the use of an annuity. And in today's marketplace, people have to realize that the markets will be volatile. So if they want to try to take income out of their investments, the main problem they're going to have is they have uncertainty with how that's going to perform. It's like a business. There's money in, money out. You have to know how much money is coming in so you know if the money you're spending is not going to put you in a place to where you run out of money.
Chance, people are going to be on the edge of their seats when we start talking annuities here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, you brought up a lot of good points there. You know, bringing it back to inflation for a minute, we understand that the numbers that we see on TV and everything that they're talking about in the general population aren't the real numbers that we see, and especially the ones that we're feeling in retirement, right? We go to the grocery store, it's not 6, 7, 8% higher. It's not only 9%. When you check out at the gas pump, it's not only 8, 9% higher. You know, those numbers are a lot different than what those numbers are that they're talking about. So when we bring it back to planning for that income and making sure that we have an income plan in retirement, you know, to Brian's point, we're looking at guaranteed income because income is the outcome that matters most in retirement, right? So when we start looking at these different aspects, we have to take into account that we've already been put in a place. A lot of you at home may have an IRA or something. They're already going to force you to take income out of it anyway, right? And the standard income is what for a portfolio, roughly 4%.
Right.
I can think of just about every income annuity out there will pay you more than 4% and guarantee it.
That's right. And the thing is, most people might be asking, well, wait a second. You're telling me I can get this guaranteed income stream? Well, how do I keep pace with inflation then? Well, the key is this. Understand, the only way to be successful in the stock market is to have a long-term investment strategy. Everyone will tell you that. How can you have a long-term investment strategy if you're going to need to start taking money out of those accounts, out of those retirement savings when you retire?
Right.
Here's how you do it. You have some money that you put into the income annuity. That creates a base of income. How do you keep pace with inflation? When the stock market goes up, you can use the growth of the money in the stock market to add more income to your current financial situation, and that helps you continue to keep pace with the rising cost.
Brian, Chance, you're spelling it out because what we're dealing with are numbers that you may not have figured in. For men who are retired, just on average, less than 19 years. For women, over 21 years.
That's right.
Do you have a financial plan? We've got one for you. Call the number below, scan the QR code on your screen for the Wealth Council written financial plan. We will leave no stone unturned to make a specific plan just for you. Call the number on your screen right now or scan the QR code for your free Wealth Council financial plan.
Up next, there's no time like the present, or is there? A story from Brian Coantra about starting his advisory career in an inopportune time. Wise words from the Wealth Council. Stay tuned.
Think of how much you have saved in your 401k or 403b or TSP retirement accounts, okay? You have that number? Great. Now subtract 20 to 30% from that number for taxes. That's how much you actually have saved. Call 844-463-3466 right now for your free retirement tax guide. Call now, 844-463-3466, or scan the QR code below from your smartphone camera.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson with an advisor spotlight. Brian Correnta out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. How long have you been in the business, Brian?
Going on 25 years now, yeah.
A quarter century takes you back before 2000. Is this a bad time to start in the financial advising business?
Horrible time. You remember that was when the dot-com bubble had started to burst. And
were you second guessing immediately?
I was. I always want to be a financial advisor, but when you're taking phone calls, as I was, because the first day on the job, they tell me that I'm going to be answering the phones for the next couple
you're
of
that
weeks.
guy.
I'm that guy. Yeah. I'm on the front lines, and I'm taking phone calls. Can you imagine? People are losing money like crazy.
Straight anger.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about people's life savings here.
Yeah.
I mean, everything they work for just, plummeting. And, everybody's in a panic. And I don't know what to tell any of these folks. I mean, I just passed my financial exam. That doesn't mean I actually know what I'm doing yet.
Okay.
Right? So
it's just call after call after call after call.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. And I took a phone call from a guy that literally changed my life. And the reason it changed my life and the reason I do the type of planning that I do today is because of this gentleman. But he called. He was very upset. He had lost quite a bit of money. And the first thing he says to me when I pick up the phone is he says, I need to get out of the stock market today. I need to liquidate and go to cash. Well, I don't know what to tell the guy.
Okay.
So I said, well, who's your financial advisor? He tells me who his advisor is. And I go to the advisor's office and I let him know, your client needs to get out of the stock market. Are you okay if I place the trades and put them in cash? And the advisor looks at me and he says, Brian, no. He goes, you're going to learn very quickly in this business, we are long-term investors. We don't sell when the stock market goes down. We hang in there for the long haul. As a matter of fact, I want you to get back on the phone with this individual. And I want you to let him know that everything is going to be okay. And I want you to remind him to not worry about anything, that he's in it for the long haul, and it's just a paper loss.
Did you believe what the advisor was telling you?
I had a hard time believing this because none of it made any sense to me of how is it a paper loss? How is hanging in there for the long haul going to make a difference? Because this guy, when I went back to the phone, I was a good employee. And I picked up the phone and I told him exactly what the financier told me to say. And I said, don't worry about anything. Hang in there. You're in it for the long haul. It's just a paper loss. And what he said to me next is why I do the type of planning I do today. He said, Brian, I'm 75 years old. How much damn long haul does this guy think I've got left? This is everything I've worked for. It's my entire life. I'm using this money to live off of in retirement, and I can't afford to continue to lose any more of this money. And that's when I decided there is no way that I want to start a career where I'm going to tell people when the market's down not to worry about it, to hang in there, that you're in it for the long haul. Now remember, financial advisors are the same people that tell us all the time that they don't have a crystal ball and they can't predict the future.
Yeah.
But yet they're the first ones to tell us not to worry about anything, that everything's going to be okay when the market goes down.
Everybody's the same in their eyes.
Yes, correct.
And you said, I got a 75-year-old individual and I want something for him.
Yeah, and I said, you know what, there's no way that I'm going to build a career telling people these cookie cutter phrases. And that's what they are. They're there. Those phrases are there to manage your emotions. There's a certain degree of truth in there, but most people are risking money they cannot afford to lose. They are risking money that took them 30, 40 years to build. And a lot of those folks need that money when they retire to be able to live off of. And that's why I started Secure Money Advisors.
25 years of changing
25 years
lives.
ago. Yeah.
Brian Corenta, thank you. And the Wealth Council returns after this.
3 major signals that the economy could be in serious trouble. Stay tuned.
What is the difference between an independent financial advisory firm and a financial advisor that represents a big box corporation? A corporate advisor will often use tools and products designed for and by that corporation. So when you, as an investor, ask them about a strategy that would work for you, they generally would offer you solutions from that corporation. An independent financial advisory firm typically provides financial advice without the same constraints faced by many of the big box firms, because they aren't required to suggest specific financial products. They often have the flexibility to provide objective and unbiased recommendations tailored to the unique financial goals of their clients. So the one question to ask yourself is, are you corporate or are you independent? Call 844-463-3466 for your own written financial plan with an independent financial advisor for Wealth Solutions. Call 844-463-3466 for your no-cost written financial plan with an independent financial advisor.
Welcome back to the Wealth Council. I'm Brad Johansson. I'm joined by Stuart Willis out of Arizona, Nevada, and Colorado, and Tom Mosley out of California, independent advisors. Gentlemen, I want to talk about a recent CNN article that came out that was entitled Running Out of Money. It cites most early withdrawals from qualified accounts. We're talking about 401ks and the like. Most severe delinquencies on auto loans since 2006. The highest revolving debt that we have seen in our country. So I ask you, Stuart, is America running out of money?
Well, if my kid's in charge, absolutely, right? If his spending habits are any indication, with his, constant bills from Amazon and Venmo and all of these other things, right? I think it's a different generation, and I'm curious as to who was exactly polled for this article. It'd be interesting to see the demographics. Look, what I see every day in the way this applies to my world is I deal with clients that are pre-retirees or retired already, right? About to retire or going to retire,
okay,
or are retired. And I think their biggest concern is running out of money, even if it's misplaced. Because I think oftentimes people don't really have a clue where they stand and if their money's going to last.
Right. They have a hope plan. They put it all in one pot. They've always had that pot for 40 years. Just throw it into the market and they have a hope plan. I don't consider that a plan. I consider that just an account they have. It's a 401k account. It's an IRA account.
Are you saying that most people who have portfolios but haven't really identified a plan are those that are saying, well, I have a plan because I have a portfolio?
Absolutely. And I've likened that to a lumber yard. You've got the material to build a plan, but it needs to be put together to address certain major things. Even financial planners we're always taught, address income. Well, a 401k doesn't really address income. Address your investments, which need to be different when you're 65 in most cases than when you're 25. Address taxes and how you're going to pay those taxes through the years. Well, that's the major thing that retirees are working, and that's what will cause them to run out of money before anything else, because all of those things draw on their plan.
No question. But I think what the retirees want to see is they want some version of clarity, right? They want some vision of, hey, I'm going to be okay. Because look, I see clients that come in all the time. They have millions of dollars saved, and understand it's those people that believe they're going to run out of money.
Right.
That's also why they have so much money, because they're frugal, they're smart, they're diligent. And here's the thing, at the end of the day, they're still worried, okay? Yep. And they're worried because they don't have a plan. And what we do is we take advantage of some of the most sophisticated cash flow financial planning software available. And we cash flow it out from now until 100 years old. And we show them how much money they'll have over that period of time based on certain return assumptions, right? And we just carry it on so that if somebody says, hey, I need to go buy a car, that they're not, having to drive the same car for 25 years because they're worried they're going to be out of money down the road.
Or out of a car, because most cars won't last 25 years. But what I see is it doesn't matter how much people have. I've got people who come into me and they've got $3, $4, $4.5 million. They're concerned that, are we going to run out of money? I've got people who come in for me and they've got $250,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000. Their concern is, are we going to run out of money? The lacking is, both could work depending on what they need. The lacking is they don't have that plan, like you say, that certainty to be able to have a tangible document that they can look at and say, hey, Our daughter's still got to get married. We still have to pay off the Parent Plus loans. And like you said about your children, Stuart, I've got 5, okay? So lay it on me, okay? So all of those things keep coming, and they're saying, are we going to be able to afford these things through our retirement and still be able to have what we need?
Give me some options as to what you're doing. If we're saying everybody's running out of money, if you're saying I got $500,000, if you're saying I got $4 million, what are the options? Because we're told we're all lumped into this. We're running out of money.
Well, that's the thing. It's not a cookie cutter approach. Right. Everybody's situation's different. I mean, the first thing you need to do is understand how much you have and start creating a model from there, right? And modeling is time consuming. It's expensive for a lot of advisors, so that's why they just don't do it. Listen, most financial advisors never go through that process because it takes work. And look, I mentor a couple hundred agents and advisors around the country, and I'm looking at my Facebook page, and they are golfing 2 or 3 times a week, and it kills me. Why? Because they don't have to do anything. You know why? Because their clients don't demand it. When clients don't demand a plan, that's exactly what they're going to get, nothing. And if it continues, let me tell you, the advisors are going to keep golfing, and you need to demand more from your advisor.
Stuart, Tom, you've said it so empirically. You have to have a plan. So call the number below. Scan the QR code on your screen right now. The Wealth Council will provide you with a written financial plan prepared specifically for you, and we will leave no stone unturned to make sure it's specific for you and built just for you.
Think of how much you have saved in your 401k or 403b or TSP retirement accounts, okay? You have that number? Great. Now subtract 20 to 30% from that number for taxes. That's how much you actually have saved. Call 844-463-3466 right now for your free retirement tax guide. Call now, 844-463-3466, or scan the QR code below from your smartphone camera.
From potentially the greatest problem facing retirees to inflation to everyone's greatest fear, running out of money, the Wealth Council is providing answers to these and many more questions when it comes to your financial future. Now, I'm sure you still have more questions. That's what we're here for, to answer them in a way that makes sense, with advisors who for decades have been helping make retirement last for people just like you who've been wondering, can I really do this? The answer is yes, and we can help starting right now. So don't waste any more time. Call the number on your screen or click the QR code. Schedule an appointment, get your free written financial plan. I'm so glad you joined us. I'm Brad Johansson, and this is the Wealth Council.